story begins with Eddie, Penguin's right-hand man, and some henchmen interrogating a man accused of sharing secrets with their rival, Rupert Thorne. Soon, the Penguin enters to confront the man, and he is terrified. On the other side of town, in a secret warehouse, a group of men working under Rupert Thorne load supplies onto a truck for smuggling. Suddenly, the lights go out, and the dark night arrives. Batman confronts the thugs, beating them left and right, and the leader tries to get away at the end, only to meet with the fist of Batman. However, before Batman can return to the warehouse, it is destroyed by an incoming missile, igniting the sky with flames and fumes. Back at Wayne Manor, Batman discusses with Alfred, his loyal butler, the recent explosions at 3 warehouses belonging to Rupert Thorne. They suspect someone is openly challenging Thorne's iron grip on Gotham's underworld, a situation that could spell disaster for the city. At the city courthouse, Barbara Gordon passionately pleads her client's innocence to the jury, and the judge calls for a recess. The petitioner's side is represented by Harvey Dent, who is ambitious and running for the mayor's office in the upcoming election. Barbara is disgusted by his arrogant attitude as he flips a coin to decide the fate of the trial. Meanwhile, Batman sneaks into the police headquarters filing section and retrieves the case documents related to the warehouse explosions. Determined to uncover the truth, he tracks down the culprit behind the cover-ups and dangles him precariously over an oncoming metro train. Under the pressure, the terrified man finally confesses: the Penguin. At Gotham Harbor, a high-end fundraiser for the Gotham City Police Department is being held on a luxurious cruise ship, with the lead performer being none other than the Penguin herself. She puts on quite a show and exits after making sure everyone is pleased with her performance. Commissioner Gordon and his daughter Barbara, however, find the whole spectacle rather distasteful. Soon they are joined by Harvey Dent, which makes Barbara leave the place in a gif. Outside, Bruce Wayne arrives at the cruise in a private boat driven by Alfred. Mrs. Cobblepot's elder son tries his luck with Barbara, but instead, he clumsily drops a shrimp cocktail on his shirt, ruining it. His younger brother mocks him, and just as the teasing begins, Bruce Wayne steps on board the cruise ship, and the ladies go nuts about him.
Well, this is embarrassing. You started the party without me.
Harvey Dent soon finds his way to Bruce Wayne, and they head off to the party. Oswalda Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, meets her rival Rupert Thorne at the party. She offers her condolences on his recent losses, but with a cocky smile, Rupert mentions that he was tipped off just in time to make his escape. Bruce Wayne entertains the crowd with his jokes, then makes a timely exit to inspect the ship and its secrets. He arrives at the loading bay, discovers some suspicious items, and quickly jumps into the pool as he hears someone approaching. Penguin arrives with her 2 sons and the guard. She threatens them and reveals that she is going to punish the betrayer, and the 2 sons start arguing. With a signal, she orders the guard to mask the junior, her youngest, put him in a box, and toss it into the water to sink deep. Bruce Wayne gets back on board, soaking wet, and jokes about going overboard to Barbara. She brushes him off, but the other ladies can't get enough of him. The elder Cobblepot contacts Rupert Thorne, revealing that he was the real betrayer, but Rupert coldly rejects him, leaving him to face his mother's wrath. Penguin is informed of her elder son's betrayal and escape, and she wants to hunt him down. That same night, as Barbara works late in her office, someone tries to enter it in secret. It turns out to be the elder son of Penguin, desperate to escape his mother and ready to reveal everything he knows about her operations to the commissioner. Barbara quickly takes him in her car, heading to the commissioner, but on the way, they're ambushed and shot at by a group of men in another car. Barbara does her best to return fire and evade them, but they end up cornered in a dark alley and thugs surround them. Just then, the Dark Knight arrives in his Batmobile and knocks down the thugs, to the great surprise of Barbara, and takes off in style. Commissioner Gordon and Barbara listen as the Cobblepot son spills everything about his mother's underworld activities. He even reveals about a long-range missile cannon stationed on the iceberg, the cruise ship. The commissioner orders the Coast Guard to take the iceberg into custody, while Barbara orders an evacuation of the Gotham police building. Oswalda readies her long-range cannon and orders a direct hit on the police headquarters. Meanwhile, Batman arrives at the iceberg in his submarine and begins to take down the guards one by one. Penguin orders Iggy to deal with Batman, and a fierce brawl starts between the two. Iggy gives it his all, but he's no match for Batman's cunning skills as he smokes him and interrupts the Penguin's shooting. Penguin challenges the Dark Knight, and the duo tries to best each other. Batman counters Penguin's every move, but unfortunately, he misses her umbrella, and she pulls the trigger on the cannon with it, and the missile is on its way. The Gotham City Police Department building is struck, exploding exactly as Penguin planned. But no one is hurt as the Commissioner and Barbara manage to get everyone out just in time. The day ends as Batman once again analyzes his plans with Alfred, as he is furious since he failed to stop the missile attack. The days to follow, Batman's alter ego, Bruce Wayne, tries to maintain his public facade despite the past events. After a night out with billionaire Bruce Wayne, young movie star Yvonne Frances steps out as they arrive at her home. But just before she reaches the front door, she's abducted. The next day at the Gotham Police Department, Bruce Wayne is questioned by Detective Montoya about the disappearance of Miss Frances. However, their conversation is cut short when Lucius Fox, the Wayne family attorney, arrives to escort Bruce out of the building. Unbeknownst to everyone, Bruce has secretly placed a mini microphone on the detective's overcoat. Bruce discusses the situation with Alfred as they head home, all while eavesdropping on Detective Montoya's conversation with the Commissioner, where they rule out Bruce Wayne as a suspect. Detective Montoya visits Basil Carlo, another movie actor on set, and questions him about Miss Frances. He shares his thoughts on her but gives false information about himself, which Montoya later uncovers by interviewing the movie director's secretary. Detective Montoya quickly arrives at Basil Carlo's home, with the Dark Knight discreetly following her. As she enters Basil Carlo's room, she finds him lying on the floor, a knife in his back. She calls for the police, but the murderer is already fleeing through the back alley fire escape. Batman is on his trail, leaping from rooftop to rooftop, but in the end, the culprit manages to get away, and the Dark Knight could only get a piece of his red scarf. Miss Frances wakes up on a bed as a man applies makeup to her face for a scene. She quickly realizes she's chained to the bed, and the light reveals that she is on a movie set. Detective Montoya is furious with herself for following a false lead and for the death of Basil Carlo, but the Commissioner still believes in her. As she walks out to her desk, Harvey Dent approaches her, eager to discuss how the Frances case could support his mayoral campaign. Once again, Detective Montoya is also disgusted by his cocky attitude and rejects him. The movie producer throws a tantrum over his missing lead actress and dead main actor. He yells at his assistant and schedules a meeting with the director. Suddenly, he's startled by the arrival of a creepy figure, the same one who killed Basil Carlo, wearing a bizarre outfit, and he electrocutes the director with a studio flash. Batman examines the scarf left by the killer and discovers the letters MPW as Monoscope Pictures Wardrobe. Realizing the killer is connected to the movie set, he follows Detective Montoya there. Detective Montoya interviews several members of the set, starting with the actor Manning, the director, and the set assistant. They all speak well of Basil, except the assistant, who reveals that Basil Carlo was obsessed with Yvonne Frances, which Montoya notes down. She mentions several incidents where Basil was self-conscious about his appearance, particularly around Frances. The director recounts how Basil sought the help of Jack Elmond, a makeup artist known for his miraculous work to improve his appearance. However, the producer later fired Elmond after he attacked Basil during an argument. Batman listens to all these details from the shadows. Shortly after, during a film shoot, the director steps away, frustrated by the performance. He's then ambushed by the creepy masked man in an alley. Fortunately, Batman arrives just in time to rescue him and the director flees. The Dark Knight and the masked man engage in a medieval-style sword fight on the castle set. The masked man cuts a rope and brings the entire set down on top of Batman and escapes. Batman takes refuge under the basement and discovers the bodies of actor Manning and producer Lou Valentine. He instructs Alfred to notify the police. Detective Montoya heads to interview suspect Jack Elmond and requests backup from Officers Flass and his partner. Although the officers keep on enjoying a good night out, Montoya proceeds to confront Jack Elmond and enters his home alone. Jack is initially quite polite as Detective Montoya questions him, but suddenly he attacks her with an iron rod. As she fights back, she realizes he's not human after all, but he knocks her out before she can react. Montoya wakes up, finds herself bound to a chair and facing a creepy masked man. She quickly identifies the man is none other than Basil Carlo. When she asks him what happened to his face, he reveals the whole story, how Jack was able to give him a face which could make him look like anyone. But even after presenting himself with his new and improved look, Yvonne Frances still rejected him. Enraged and humiliated, he abducted her when she recoiled in horror. After boasting about his evil deeds, Basil shows Detective Montoya the real catch: Yvonne Frances, bound to a table on a movie set beside her. But to everyone's surprise, Yvonne starts blackguarding Basil for his cowardly acts. Just then, Batman crashes through the rooftop windows and swiftly cuts Montoya's bindings. As Batman confronts Basil, a massive cutting blade is triggered above Yvonne, forcing the detective to rush to save her before it cuts her in half. Montoya manages to save Yvonne just in time. In the hallway, Batman engages in a fierce battle with Basil Carlo, who now starts to wield an axe in his arms. The Dark Knight grabs the axe, breaks it in half, smacks Basil into a pulp, and knocks him out in style. When Detective Montoya orders Batman to surrender, he flees just as the backup officers arrive. Even the officers are impressed with the Dark Knight and his skills. Detective Montoya notices the microphone that had been on her all along and uses it to speak to the Dark Knight one last time. Soon after the antics of Basil Carlo, Gotham City settles down to its usual rhythm and vibe as the Gotham Museum displays its wealthiest jewelry collection on a weekend night. Bruce Wayne is admiring the Wayne collection, which once belonged to his late parents, when he is approached by the passionate and mischievous Selina Kyle. Selina, captivated by the beauty of a pearl necklace, readily flirts with the most handsome and eligible bachelor in the whole city of Gotham, Bruce Wayne. She leaves him with an open invitation for a date, and just then, Bruce sucker punches a photographer for speaking ill about his late mother. You don't mess with the Waynes and get away with it, pal. Unfortunately, the court has ordered Mr. Wayne to attend a few weeks of mandatory psychological therapy sessions, which he doesn't take seriously as he chats with Dr. Quinzel. But the doctor touches the soft spot by mentioning the death of his parents a long time back, and Bruce keeps thinking about the whole situation even on the ride back home. It seems Dr. Quinzel is a step ahead of the young billionaire after all. The next day, Selina Kyle is woken up by her maid, Greta, after sleeping well into the afternoon. She orders Greta to ignore the growing pile of bills and promises to pay her as soon as possible. That's when she gets the idea to become a masked vigilante. She sews herself a catsuit inspired by her beloved pets and takes on the role of the infamous Catwoman, pulling off 3 successful burglaries in just 5 days. However, while attempting to rob the Gotham Museum's jewelry vaults, she's spotted by guards and police and chased her down through Gotham's alleys. Just when she thought she got away nice and easy, the Dark Knight appears behind her. She cunningly tries to evade him, but the Batman knows better to apprehend the enemy in 1,000 ways than anyone. Catwoman gets ensnared in his bag of tricks, and the cops are shocked to discover it's Selina Kyle as they take her away. Bruce has a flashback to the ride home with Alfred after the murder of his parents, but he's quickly brought back to reality by Dr. Quinzel in the middle of their therapy session. Dr. Quinzel accurately predicts who Bruce Wayne is for real, but the young billionaire denies the reality, since he doesn't want anyone to figure him out. The next day, Selina Kyle is produced at the court as the main in the recent vigilante break-ins at jewelry stores. However, prosecutor Harvey Dent is prepared to drop the charges, citing Batman's presence at the scene, and the judge rules in favor of Selina Kyle. The police can't believe it, and so does Miss Barbara Gordon. Selina leaves the courthouse in her car, driven by her maid Greta. Bruce is honing his boxing skills when he hears the release of Selina Kyle, and this time, even Alfred is amazed by the outcome. Once again, Catwoman resumes her robberies, and once again she's discovered by the Dark Knight on a rooftop. Batman gives chase to the escaping cat, but she suddenly misses a step on the roof's edge and begins to freefall. Fortunately, Batman leaps after her. Catwoman seizes the moment, kisses the Dark Knight, and left him stunned on the ground with an electrified punch from her knuckle duster. Selina then takes off in her modified Catwoman ride while Batman jumps out of the way. At the Gotham City Police Department, officers are furious about the situation, but when they arrive at her upscale apartment, they find that she has already fled. Meanwhile, Selina has relocated to a rundown apartment downtown, where she settles in with her maid Greta and her many pet cats. Batman is furious at the fact that he was bested by Catwoman twice. Despite Alfred urging him to let it go, Batman decides to go a step further and set another trap for Selina. Bruce Wayne visits the Gotham Museum, requesting that they end the exhibition 3 weeks early. With only 2 days left, Catwoman naturally shifts her focus to the museum, just as Bruce intended. Bruce attends his final therapy session, and while Dr. Quinzel signs his paperwork, she expresses her desire to continue to discover this mysterious yet plentiful young man inside Bruce Wayne. Bruce hands the papers to Alfred and returns to his usual work. The walls around the Dark Knight are too high, and Batman is simply too tough to break through. On the way back, Bruce has yet another flashback to the night of his parents' murder, the killer's image haunting him as he tries to sleep. But this is Bruce Wayne. He turns to his butler, Alfred Pennyworth, and vows to take revenge on all the evil that plagues Gotham.
Councilman.
Batman confronts a paparazzi photographer who is taking pictures of a city councilman with another woman. The Dark Knight wants him to photograph all the evidence from what's going to unveil in the night. Catwoman has taken the bait and arrives at the Gotham Museum to steal the Wayne's pearl necklace. Batman confronts her as the photographer captures the scene, but this time, she's not alone. Selina has brought along a black Jaguar, which she unleashes on Batman to make her escape. Batman evades the big cat and manages to subdue it with a well-placed smoke bomb. Two police officers, Flass and Bullock, arrive at the scene, and Flass fires from point-blank range. Flass has no intention of taking her prisoner and prepares to kill her instead. Batman swiftly knocks down Flass and his partner, all the while the photographer continues taking pictures. Batman tends to her wound but secretly chains her up, ensuring she's ready for the police when they arrive. He then meets with the photographer, ordering him to publish the photos and hand over the evidence to the police. Selina is locked up, and her maid Greta sells off all of her possessions to pay herself before leaving her for good. Once again, justice prevails in the end. Thank you for watching Second Look. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more awesome videos. Have a nice day.